Hey everyone, we're back at it again. As you can tell, it's about a balmy 20 degrees here. We are in the midst of our third winter so far this year. We're not even through January yet. We've had second and third spring, and we're commencing on our third winter so far. So, got some updates. We got the new Champion radiator in, and I also got some new injectors for the F350. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. Well, there it is. Got it in the other day. Jegs has been great to work with. They sent the new one in. Got it here in about a week, and we'll unbox it here and take a look at it. I also picked up some new injectors off of eBay. I got these particular models because, well, it says high quality, good service, and have a nice day. Has a flag on there too with some random assortments of letters and numbers underneath it. So we might just snip those in too while we're at it. I tried to get the truck pulled in here with my three-wheeler, aka my big red tractor, and it just didn't quite have it in there, so to get it pulled in. So anyway, we're gonna put the radiator in outside. These injectors also came with some very important instructions as well. And I'm glad that someone is looking out for me. So what it says here says, no open flame. Before disassembling the injector, be sure to disconnect the battery negative connection. There's a burning risk due to short circuit during disassembling. Okay. Please operate and install in a well-ventilated place. All right, I'll buy that. Installation work on the fuel system can only be carried out when the coolant temperature is below 40 degrees Celsius. I think we're well below that today. Please follow any general safety measures when installing. And number 6, always obey the bolting connection sequence and tightening torque during installation. Failure to comply with regulations can result in risk of leakage. After the injector is installed, if it is necessary to observe whether there is any gasoline leakage in the upper and lower seals of the injector. There should be no sign of leakage of gasoline. So, well, there you have it. Someone really took the time to make sure you did this safe. So we're going to follow those precautions today. Alrighty, here we go. We'll unbox this. I already kind of snapped open the staples there. All right. Let's see if we can get this out one-handed. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right. So upon first initial inspection, it appears to be okay-ish. Maybe this radiator will last us just a little bit longer than the 6 months and, I don't know, 3,000 miles I maybe put on this truck in that time frame. All right, here we go. We got her out of the plastic wrap there. It's a lot more shiny than my last unit, I feel like. Of course, my other one had been in there for a few months, started getting a little tarnished, but that gloss ought to add at least a 25 to 50 horsepower overall to the rear wheels on that truck. Of course, they do say it depends on altitude, which we're up here. You know, and different weather patterns and variances take into consideration on that as well. But overall, looks like a good unit. Welds all look pretty dang good for an amateur welder such as myself. Again, Jegs has been super great to deal with on this whole deal, and I guess we'll go ahead and get it slapped in there and go from there on it. All right, guys, so I got you set up here just real quick. I got the radiator laid down on the cardboard box that was shipped in, and I got my parts here that we took off the old radiator, and this miscellaneous mounting hardware as well. I got the adapters here. There's an upper and a lower, and basically there's different schools of thought, different preferences, whether to use the traditional Teflon tape or the liquid Teflon. I've used both and had good success with both. Some guys swear by one kind or the other, but as long as you install it correctly, that's what makes the difference. There's a kind of a right way and a wrong way to install this. I install it as if you were going to screw this into the transmission cooler. Basically, I get it so that it's coming off of the roll side here and just wrap it in a right-hand fashion around these. And I put it on maybe a little too thick, but again, I've had good success with the liquid or this kind of tape as well, in my experience. So try to clean off the old stuff here just so that you don't compromise any sort of sealing. I couldn't find a rag, so I'll just wipe it down here with my sweatshirt. That's fine. My wife will thank me later in the laundry, so. All right. Just go ahead and wrap it around. I try to get it pretty tight so that it gets down in the threads. And go around till it looks like we've got good engagement in it. Just like that. And then I usually run my hands around it and make sure it just is pressed in there. We're good to install those. All right, so we're on the driver's side. I started installing this top one, and the camera tried to get away from me, so I had to quickly reassess here. But anyway, biggest thing here with these aluminum bosses is you just want to make sure you get everything snugged up. You get too tight, you can strip them out obviously, and then you're dealing with using helicoil and things of that sort, and that gets expensive, and the last thing we want to do is trash a radiator. So there's really no orientation on these. They're the same size, so and you just want to make sure that get them installed and get them nice and snug. Trying to hold this steady so I don't throw the camera off of it here. It's pretty low pressure too on this circuit. My experience with my career currently, when you do like hydraulic checks and that, you're dealing with pressures upwards of 300 to 3,500 psi, sometimes more, depending on the unit. This is just a few pounds here. I'm not sure the spec. If you know it, comment down below. Let me know. I like to learn things like that. So, but it's fairly low pressure. So, like I say, that any pipe thread you install, you're always going to want to use some sort of Teflon sealant, Loctite, goop, just to make sure that these threads stay sealed up. All right, so I decided to come over here. It didn't appear that the drain valve here had any sort of sealant on it, and that's just another spot for a leak. So I don't know why, but for some reason this is a 14 millimeter on this side, so that seems fine, I guess. So let's go ahead and repeat the procedure over here. Just to be on the safe side, we don't want to have any sort of random leaks that we're gonna have to drain all the coolant back out later and fix, just because we didn't take the time to make sure that everything was good before we installed it. So I'm no metallurgist. I'm not sure which is a softer metal, be it aluminum or brass, but I don't want to find out. But if you guys know, let me know. Again, I like learning that kind of stuff. So that's good. Got that installed. I think now we are good to install this in the truck. All right, so here we are. Now I had some brake clean left over, but the can dropped and busted the little nozzle off, so we'll just use some carbon choke cleaner to clean up this area down here, get all this crud cleaned out. Start with a fresh, clean slate. Probably not as effective as brake clean. Definitely more expensive, but It'll clean it good enough, I think. Guys, make sure you go get one of your wife's dish rags to clean this up. She won't mind if you do. It'll probably be okay. No, it won't. You'll be in trouble. Make sure you ask first, I guess. After being married to me, my wife has come to expect nothing less. Let's just put it that way. All right. Okay. Clean. Now, so get that radiator. Get it thrown in here. Should be good to go. Okay, here we go. Carefully install this so as not to bend anything. There we go. Just gotta get it. Oh, leakage. Danger. There we go. Back in the mounts down there. Nice part about the transmission line fittings, this part here that I'm installing, they're a compression type fitting, so you don't need to worry about putting any sort of Teflon sealant or anything on there. You definitely can, but you'll pay for it later in frustration and everything like that when you're trying to get them back apart if you ever need to replace a radiator or anything like that. So just snug them up, should be good. There we go. carefully install this. Got to install them together, unfortunately. Not enough room in there for as much activities as we'd like. So. Alrighty, so I had to set you down there for a minute. Trying to get these fan bolts in is kind of a bear to do. I had to set you down there so I could swear at it to get them in, because you're trying to line up the hub for the water pump, the bolt holes for the pulley, and then there's 2 sets of bolt holes on the fan clutch mounting plate. So trying to get all that lined up requires a lot of patience and sometimes swear words to get lined up, but we got it lined up, so go ahead and get it installed here. Alright guys, so we got it all reinstalled here. I spared you some of the installation. Got every upper radiator hose and everything put on. Now if you remember, when I took this apart, the lower radiator hose clamp broke, and I forgot to pick one of those up today, so I'll have to get one of those. But I do just want to go ahead and start it, make sure we don't have any transmission fluid leaks, anything like that. And just run it for a quick second just to make sure that everything's in good working order. Come over here. We'll just go ahead and check the transmission oil here. Oh yeah. Keep an eye on that once everything warms up, and we'll top it off if we need to. Well, I think that's about it there. She hasn't been running a few days, so. Hey guys, well, I got that lower radiator clamp rounded up. It took me a day or two to get that sorted out and put on. Decided to go ahead and throw the coolant in and take her for a quick test drive. Everything's running tip-top shape. Obviously, don't have any leaks. Did have a minor one coming out of the top radiator hose, just had to snug the clamp up. Other than that, it's running real good. Still pretty cold, so it's not going to get super warm, but overall it's doing real great. So we'll get her back to the house here and see if we can't get some injectors put in. guys, so we got back here to the garage. Got stuff kind of pulled apart here. Basically what I've got is I just went ahead and pulled apart the intake, got it off, started undoing some connectors. We're to the point now where we just basically need to start separating all of our wire harnesses, so like our throttle position sensor, throttle cable, and get them disconnected. I believe there's even some vacuum lines on the back of the intake plenum that we'll need to take off so we can get the plenum out. The main reason the plenum has to come out is right back here. You'll kind of see it right at the back on the bottom of the plenum. There's a cross tube for the fuel injector line, so we've got to basically pull this rail completely off in order to get to the injectors. So I'll just keep kind of plugging away here and get these pulled off, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so we got her pretty well tore down there. Just getting to the point where we can pull the fuel rail off. A couple quick things when you're dealing with that. Always make sure you bleed off your fuel pressure, especially on a fuel-injected vehicle. Carbureted vehicles are obviously a little bit more forgiving, but fuel injected, you definitely want to make sure you push in the Schrader valve and drain out any fuel pressure. All right, guys, so the Schrader valve will have a little cap on it. Looks like this. On the fuel injected 460s, it's located on the passenger side fuel rail. Basically, you just take you a O-ring pick or small screwdriver and depress the Schrader valve and make sure everything's vented out. Always make sure you're wearing your safety glasses too when you do that so you don't get anything in your eyes. I had to grab one of my T-handles here, but it does make a bit of a mess, but we're all drained out now, so now we can safely remove the fuel rail. Here's a side-by-side comparison. One on the left is our new refurbished injector. One on the right is the original that came with this truck. I mean, looks fairly cleanish. I've run some fuel treatment through it, but yeah, that's about what they all look like there. And then here's our new one. So anyway, we'll throw them in and see how they do. One thing I want to point out real quick here is the number on the side. I'm gonna try and get a good shot here. See if I can get it to focus. It may not focus, but what it says is E8TEB1C, and that corresponds with our old injector that we pulled out. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get that put in. I think on the other side there, that's just our serial number of the injector. So anyway, we'll get these put in real quick and go from there. All right, guys, here's the current state of affairs. So went ahead and just threw all the injectors in real quick and put my fuel rail on and my harness on. I didn't want to bore you guys with that. It's pretty much the exact same as when I took them off. 4 bolts and everything just pretty much falls apart. So just threw it all back together, tightened everything down. Biggest thing is when you put the fuel rail on, make sure that you go down square with everything. You can get these injectors twisted over and pinch the O-rings, and then you're tearing it all back apart again. Been there, done that. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're putting this all together. A couple things to bear in mind is when you're doing new injectors, there was, I'll call it a serial number break, and I don't know if that's the correct Ford terminology, but that's what I'm going to call it. From 88, I believe, when these went fuel injected up until 1991, they had one style of injector, which was the style that we put in, because this engine, though it resides in a 1992 frame and body, it technically came out of a 1990. So the biggest differences is the big connector over here on those is actually round. It's 3 round ones versus a big square one. And the injectors was another difference. So this is what they had on that first generation, if you want to call that. And then in 1992, up until, I want to say, the end at 1997, they had this style. So not a lot of differences, but there are some differences. So just a couple things to keep in mind when you're doing this. I hung on to this one from when I did the engine. You can see I marked it with the number 6 there, so I knew where it went. But anyway, just a couple things to bear in mind. Yeah, so we'll get this intake plenum put on and fire it up and see how she does. Well, here she is. Just fired it up. Sounds pretty good. Doesn't sound near as shaky as it was before, so I think we definitely had some injectors that were giving us some fits, but she sounds pretty good. I still want to play with the timing just a little bit, but I think we'll do that next once we get her warmed up here. All right, so I got everything hooked up, guys. You might hear that this is running a little different. When you do the timing adjustment, it's basically what you're setting is a static timing on these fuel injected ports. So what you have to do is unplug the spout connector, which resides right there. And this is the connector you're taking off. Basically what you're doing is taking the ECU out of the loop so you can adjust your timing. The timing should be set at 10 degrees before top dead center. Attempt to we're a little need to turn our distributor just a little bit. You also want to make sure, with the type of timing gun I have, you want to make sure you're set on number 1 spark plug wire for your inductor. Kind of tough to see. I know it's super tough to see with this alternator belt right in the way, and it's even hard to see when you're not trying to look at it through a camera, but basically you have to shoot it down in between the belt. And I know the video's really not the greatest with this flashing light, but it's set right on the money. I was a little bit, it wasn't quite where it needed to be. I was probably more like 8 degrees before top dead center. So we were close, just not close enough. So new injectors may have changed that some too. We'll go ahead and put this spout connector back in. It has a little tab that has to go a certain way in there. You hear that audible change, the ECU taking over and fine-tuning the adjustment. A couple snaps here. Oh. Boy, she sounds pretty smooth now. Let's take her for a drive and see what she does. Well guys, she seems pretty good here. I'd say it's probably, I know it's definitely running a little smoother. Whether or not it has more power, I don't really think that's, you know, a concern right now. I'd put stock injectors back in it, so really wasn't a need to put bigger injectors in for any reason. So yeah, she's running real good. I took it around the block here, just getting ready to pull back in the garage, but so far she's running good and back on the road. Got the radiator fixed, so we should be able to utilize it some more. But appreciate all the support and everything. When I started this channel, feel free to comment, like, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.